Welcome to episode 3 of Nathan Talk Sports. And this will be almost all NFL, but a brief update on the College Football Playoff National Championship. And a brief Chelsea update, of course, because I'm a Chelsea fan. And the National Championship game was a defensive battle with a lot of field goals for about 3 quarters. Georgia had the only TD. And then Stetson Bennett. I meant Bennett. Stetson Bennett fumbled the ball, and apparently the Bama player picked it up. I'm not sure if it was a fumble, and I don't believe the Bama player got it in bounds, but the play stood. Bama scored a touchdown to take the lead, and I thought, Georgia is gonna Georgia. But they didn't. Bennett threw a fantastic score. Actually, 2 of them. And then a pick 6 sealed it for Georgia to win their first national title since 1980. And Chelsea update. We are really struggling. Ever since the Lukaku interview came out, we haven't played well. And when Ziyech scored and no one celebrated, that made me so sad against Brighton. I was like, this team is not a team anymore. We had such team chemistry and culture, and it was ruined because of Lukaku, who hasn't even been very good. I think we should sell him in January, right now. Sell him. We got 12 days in the time we're recording to sell him. Sell him now. Even for $50 million, because we might not get top 4 if we keep playing like this, and that's about 60 or 70 million. And so we basically lose that loss of investment right there and piss off all the fans. All right, to the NFL. First game, Bengals 26, Raiders 19. This was one of the few good games in an atrocious wildcard weekend, or as the NFL calls it, super wildcard weekend, because they decided to make it super. And it wasn't super at all, because they wanted to make it super, so it wasn't super, if you know what I mean. Burrow had a good game, 24-34, 244, 2 TDs, impressive throws. And favorite target, Jamar Chase, over 100 yards on 9 catches. And the Raiders offense struggled to finish off drives, just scoring 1 touchdown the whole game. 4 field goals. The Bengals had 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. And that was the difference. It was interesting how there was 8 field goals in a game where everyone was going for 4th down a bunch of times, even when they shouldn't. Well, I'm not sure if I would have gone for any of these 4th downs either. Anyways, final drive. Carr got down to the Bengals 9, and Derek Carr decided to spike the ball with 30 seconds left. You do not need to spike the ball with 30 seconds left. There is plenty of time for 4 throws. Plenty. And, of course, he had to throw a desperation pass on the 3rd real pass attempt of the final set of downs. And instead of being able to throw it away, he had to throw it right into the hands of the Bengals defenders. And Bengals won their first playoff game in over 3 decades. Great for them. Zach Taylor seems like an outstanding head coach, and Joe Burrow seems like an outstanding quarterback. There's one strange play that I want to talk about. Joe Burrow was scrambling, almost went out of bounds. He threw the ball, and then all of a sudden, the whistle blew. And the refs aren't reffing the rest of the playoffs because they should have blown this dead as soon as the whistle blew and redid the down. They didn't. And the fact they all blew the whistle while the ball was in the air. Why? If he stepped out of bounds, blow it before he threw it. If he didn't, let the play go. Or better yet, as they do on fumbles, let the play go. You can always say, he stepped out of bounds later. And of course, they kept the ruling of touchdown by Tyler Boyd. And this would not have been the only redo of the week, however, which is interesting. And of course, my Patriots lost. Bills 47, Pats 17. Bills had the greatest game in the history of offense. A Pop Warner team would have done the same thing as our defense. Or even better yet, put 11 people from a stance to play defense. It would have been the exact same result. 7 real drives, 7 touchdowns. Are you fucking kidding me? Never punted, never kicked a field goal, never turned the ball over. And Allen went 21 of 25, 308 with 5 TDs. The only players on our roster that showed up were Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones. And that was an embarrassing way to end the season. And after a bye, we just fell apart. All right. Bucs 31, Eagles 15. I missed most of this game because I went ice skating, and the thumbnail will be a picture of the pond I skated on. And I'm glad I missed this game. Bucs had this locked up well before the half. And I wasn't surprised at all. I had 34-14 Bucs, and if the Bucs had kicked a field goal on 4th down and the Eagles had gone for 1 instead of 2, I would have gotten the score exactly right. So I was pretty close. This was not a 2-score game. This felt like a 5-score game. And the NFL should never have added a 7th playoff team. What a waste of a game. All for money. The Eagles were atrocious, as expected. Brady has a typical great game. And Mike Evans, congrats to him. First Bucs player to have 100 yards and a receiving TD in the same game in franchise history. Great job to him. Bucs move on. Niners 23, Cowboys 17. This is the game of the week. It was on CBS and Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon actually had a decent broadcast. Not quite as good as last year, but maybe it was new, so it was more exciting last year, but it wasn't bad. And this was the game that had the redo of the play. Cowboys punted the ball, and it hit the Jumbotron and blew the play dead immediately, correctly. And they restart the clock from the spot where they punted it, and they just redid the play. And back to the actual game. Niners are up 23-7 in the 4th, and the drama started. Mike McCarthy made his typical weak coaching decision, got into field goal range, and decided to kick a field goal to turn a 2-score deficit into a 2-score deficit, when you had scored 1 time the entire game before that. You think you're going to score twice or more. And, of course, they didn't. Cowboys did get a stop in the touchdown, and then Niners had 2 4th-and-1 situations. Punted on them both. I think they should have gone for the first one, because even if they got the ball, even down to like the 10-yard line, which they did, Cowboys had plenty of time with 3 timeouts in 2:51 to get down the field and score a touchdown. And the second time, Deebo Samuel was originally given the first down. He had an outstanding game. He was stopped 6 inches short. Even more people were saying go for this one than go for the first one, which I'm surprised by. That was an easy situation to punt it away. The Cowboys had about 30 seconds left after they punted it, and no timeouts, and it would be really difficult for them to go the length of the field. They actually got into Hail Mary position. 3 good plays by Prescott. And, of course, then another bonehead play. I'm not sure if this is a McCarthy call or a Prescott call. But Dak did a QB draw with no timeouts in 14 seconds. So it would take about 5 seconds, so he had about 9 seconds. But he wasted about 2 or 3 seconds to gain 3 yards, which makes this even worse. And, of course, they tried to spike the ball. And how pathetic it was, the attempt was. Dak, instead of handing the ball to the official, instead of the players running to the line, a lot of the players were walking casually to the line. Walking to the line when you have to spike the ball in about 7 seconds. It's already near impossible in normal situations. But you're walking to the line. I repeat, walking to the line. Walking to the line. Ridiculous. What an embarrassing last sequence, and they couldn't get the spike off. of course. But they almost did. But except Dak forgot to hand the ball to the official. He handed it to his center instead, who put the ball down. And by the time the official spotted the ball, time would run out. And it wasted about 2 seconds, and they missed it by about a second. And Niners won. And the Nickelodeon valuable player went to Dak Prescott, of course. And he didn't get the slime because he lost. And that was disappointing. I would have loved to see him get slimed after that. Or interviewed. Or both. The losing QB won again, so no slime. He had a strange press conference when he started shaming the fans for throwing trash at the officials. And then a reporter said, no, I meant correction. They were throwing trash at the fans. He shamed them for that. But no, they were throwing it at the officials. And he said, oh, credit to them. Shouldn't have said that, but I think this was way overblown after a tough playoff loss. It was heat of the moment. I don't think this is an indication of Dak's character. I think he's an extremely good role model. He later apologized, by the way. But the media overreacted, and even NBA officials were getting into it, which I thought was interesting. All right, Chiefs Steelers. This was expected to be a big blowout, and of course it was. Chiefs 42, Steelers 21. Steelers were actually in it and actually went up 7-0 in the second. Pretty good for them. This was an ugly game overall. Good job by the Steelers to get the playoffs, but Mahomes, 5 TDs in 12 minutes. And after that, Travis Kelce threw his first NFL TD pass. Great moment when he interviewed his mom. His mom came in to interview him, which I thought was amazing. She was amazing that day. She went to her other son Jason's playoff game, then flew to Kansas City and got to Travis's game. And I got to see him throw a touchdown pass. And it was so cool because he said, I said I'd throw a touchdown pass in the NFL as a kid to his mom, and he ended up doing it in the playoffs. Good for him. Ben Roethlisberger final game, nothing special, but he wasn't terrible. Despite the blowout, he didn't throw an interception and threw 2 TDs. Mahomes is outstanding, over 400 yards and 5 TDs. Did have an interception, but that was early in the first quarter before he got better in the game. And the Chiefs are really firing on all cylinders. And now Monday night. This might have been why they did Super Wildcard Weekend. Game on Monday. Rams 34, Cardinals 11. Biggest moment of the game was a scary injury to Buda Baker. Glad he's okay. This is a very boring game. Probably, if I was being unbiased and not a Pats fan, probably the most disappointing game of the weekend, because this was supposed to be outstanding game of the weekend. Just a clinic by the Rams. They are scary. Held the Cardinals to 183 yards. Even got a pick 6 when Kyler should have just taken the sack and the safety. And that basically ended the game, because instead of 16-0 2-score game, it was 21-0 3-score game. And just the sheer deflation after that. Stafford got the monkey off his back, only having to throw it 17 times to do it. Finally getting his first playoff win. Kyler was 19-34, 137 yards, and 2 picks. Even the Manning cast was boring that night. It's almost like they were sad the game was so boring. All right, on to next week. Previews for next week. Hopefully the divisional round will be better than the wildcard round. Please be better. Please be better. I think the Titans will beat the Bengals. Derrick Henry in his return is going to go off. Even if his carries are limited, because he is pissed off that Jonathan Taylor is thought to be the best running back by a lot of people. Although I don't know why, after in the biggest game of his life, Taylor stunk up the joint. He's going to reassert himself. Well over 100 yards. Multiple touchdowns. Burrow will have a good game, but it won't be enough. Packers over 49ers. I originally had Green Bay losing this week, but San Fran ain't as good as the Rams. Much better matchup for them than that Rams' fearsome defensive line. And I feel like Stafford was a lot more likely to help the Rams keep up with the Pack than Garoppolo will be. Especially with that injured thumb. Another gutsy performance by Garoppolo getting him the win. That one, but the only thing is, Rodgers was 0-3 against the Niners, but I don't think this is the same Niners teams. Win for the Pack, hosting the championship game. Bucs over Rams, my original NFC championship game. Entering the postseason, and I think the Bucs will win this one. Both won their wildcard games big, so there's nothing to change the prediction. Rams are capable of keeping up with Brady, but I feel like Brady will have that clutch final drive to seal the win and get back to his 11th Super Bowl. 11th. Chiefs over Bills. Rematch of last year's AFC Championship. Could be the second of many playoff games. Would be the second of possibly many playoff games between Allen and Mahomes. Mahomes will win it again. This should be the best game of the whole postseason, though. This will be a shootout, but Chiefs will make a great defensive stand, holding the Bills on fourth down to seal a one-score win. Predicting the rest of the postseason, AFC Championship, Chiefs over Titans. Chiefs are firing all cylinders, and I don't think the Titans will keep up. Bucs over Packers. Seems like the same situation as last year. MVP Rodgers, or presumptive MVP Rodgers. Top-seeded Packers. Title game in Green Bay. Same result. Close win for the Bucs. I don't think LaFleur is going to make a bonehead coaching move this time, though. Super Bowl once again, Bucs over Chiefs. This will be closer than last year's end. Mahomes will score a touchdown. But I don't feel I can bet against Brady, even without AB and Godwin. And that's about that. Bucs will win another Super Bowl. And I want to talk a little basketball for a second. The Cleveland Cavaliers. We thought they'd be one of the worst teams in basketball. They're 27-18. Absolutely fantastic. Near the top of the conference. Already gone over their projected win total. What a fantastic team that was. Brief talk about my Celtics. We're just struggling to hold leads. Doing a little better lately, but we're still barely in the play-in spots. Trying to fight off the Knicks and a couple other teams. Bruins, we're doing really well. And MLB, still in a lockout. The owner's trying a shitty proposal to the players, and the players smartly rejected it. And I'm going to predict the season will not start on time. This could easily turn into an NHL 05 situation where they lose the whole season due to a lockout. Even a second significantly shortened season would really ruin Major League Baseball's revenues. And the reputation with the fans. It took a home run chase to get them after the 94 strike. And this could be worse, because Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa ain't walking through that door. And baseball might not even be a major sport in a few years the way they're going. And overall, Man City are going to take the Premier League. Very disappointed in that, but we can't do it, and Liverpool's not going to do it either. Another strange circumstance, we've played 23 games. Burnley have played 17. 6 games at hand. The only time I could think of this scenario would be if a team was playing in Europe, had the 6 games in hand, over a team that wasn't playing in Europe. And a lot of fluke situations, like qualifying round, like Tottenham a couple of years ago at a qualifying round. They got to the Europa League, I think, last 16. So they had to play a whole bunch of extra games. They didn't even have 6 games in hand. This is how bad COVID is in the Premier League. By the way, we are the team that's playing in European games. Burnley are not. That's insane. It's like, it feels so weird looking at the table with like teams having like 4, 5, 6 games in hand over other teams. And that will basically be that for the podcast. I'm only going to post this on YouTube for now because my free trials have run out, and until I get a bigger audience, I don't feel it's worth paying the money to do the podcast services. But once this podcast gets bigger, and it will, I'll pay the money, and it'll be on podcast services. Probably several. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nathan Talk Sports, for now. And thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Nate Talk Sports, NATATALKSSPORT. And I'll be tweeting more on that account. Thanks for watching.